Hello everyone, today I'm gonna show you how you can create Canopy Pavilion in Grasshopper. So in today's tutorial you are going to learn how to do those kind of base pavilions and how we can modify those pavilions to create these kind of pavilions, and also we are going to go crazy and do these kind of pavilions. So in this Grasshopper script, you will be able to move the base column. You can see in the middle, you can move it around, and also you'll be able to change different parameters to create your own pavilion. So let's just jump into the tutorial. Right now we have empty Rhino file and empty Grasshopper file. So let's start with to create our surface. Like, why we are creating surface? Because we are going to convert that surface into a mesh. Why we need a mesh? Because Kangaroo works with mesh. That mesh is going to be our base. So let's just say plain surface. You can see plain surface has three inputs. First is plane, second is X size, third is Y size. You can change the plane. It's defaults by like X and Y. You can change it X and Z if you like, and you can even change the origin if you like to, but we are not going to do that in that pavilion. X and Y axis is the axis that we want to work with. So but we need to make that surface way more bigger than this one. Let's say 400, and let's connect those two. Right now we have much bigger surface. So you can call surface if you like. If you want to see everything, you can call it, but you don't have to. If you want to be more organized, maybe it will help you. And then we are going to create our mesh. For that we are going to say mesh surface. You can clearly see by the name mesh surface, it's gonna create our mesh with the surface that we create. So let's just hook it up in here. You can see it creates some kind of grids. I always work when I work with mesh, I always make the grid same as Rhino, because the grid snap those connection points are important in Kangaroo. You will see in the next couple of steps. Let's say 40 to U and V count, and you can see right now the grids are same. So right now we create our mesh. Let's say mesh. You don't have to, but I want to do that so you to see. Right now we have our mesh. When we came into the Kangaroo part, what we're going to do is to go Kangaroo 2, go main, and then set and then click the solver. So if you use Kangaroo 1 before, the Kangaroo 2 solver is much more simplified and much better, I think. You can see the goal objects in here. The goal objects, I mean, we are going to put everything into goal objects. You will see, let's just say button to reset the animation and reset the solver. So you can't put the mesh into goal objects, but I mean, this is the output thing, and when you connect those things, this thing to here, it says empty, and then it gives us an error. We need to say show and connect those two, and you can see right now the output is a mesh. You can find this show in Kangaroo 2 main in here. So right now we have a mesh output. Let's go to the anchor points. Let's create our anchor points. So what is the anchor? Anchor is basically the same thing in the real life. Like anchor, it's anchor. So anchor points are like the anchor thing is into the Kangaroo 2 goals PT, and then you can see the base anchor, anchor X, Y, Z, plastic anchor, and different things. In here we are going to use anchor, the base anchor, the default anchor. You can see we got that. It wants us 3 inputs, like the point, target, and strength. So for points, you can pick the let's delete that one. You can pick the points on Rhino if you like. So right now I pick the corners and then say points, say set multiple points, and then put it in here. Right now we have anchor points, but if you don't want to do that in Rhino, if you want to do that in Grasshopper, let's say anchor again. So what we're going to do is deconstruct brep, get the surface and put it in here. So deconstruct brep, you can see, gives us the edge, face, and then those kind of points. So we need points in that script. So let's say point, and let's put the vertices in the points. I mean, again, you don't need to do that. You can put the vertices into points immediately, but I want you to see. So I call point, put it in here, and then put it in here. So let's just make it a little bit more organized. I don't like those spaghetti kind of Grasshopper files, so let's just make it a little bit more organized. So right now we have our anchor points. Let's just hook it up in here. So for just be on the safe side, let's just say flatten. It's usually not cause problems, but just do flatten to be on the safe side. So right now we have our anchor points. You can see those corners are our anchor points. I mean, if you don't want to use corner points as an anchor points, then don't do it. But in that pavilion, we are going to do that. So next step, we are going to say edge length. It is in goal mesh. Just click edge length. What is the edge length? Edge length is simply gives us the spring effects you will see in the next steps. So we need to put the mesh in here, and then we need to put it in here. You can see it has length factor and strength things too. Length factor is gonna be between 0, let's say 0, 0, 0, between 0 and 1. So let's just make it something like that. And look it up, you can see it creates that spring effect that we want to see on our pavilion. So, and then let's add the strength. Strength is going to be something like, let's say that, maybe a little bit too much, but we'll see. So I want to show you one more thing on anchor points. I wanted to put firstly those edge lengths thing, then you can understand it clearly. So right now you can't move those points. You can see I can't select it because I didn't create it on Rhino. But how, like, I want to move those things, like how can I do that? It has so simple solution. Just click that point, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, copy paste, and then say internalize data and put it in the targets. So right now you are able to move those points. You can see even only with these comments you can create your own pavilion. You can see. So let's just delete that one because we don't need it. We don't need it in that pavilion. Next step, let's add some kind of gravity thing. It's not gravity, but it's kind of gravity. You will understand what I'm saying. It's gonna give us some kind of load. So we are going to say vertex loads, and we need our mesh again in here. Let's hook it up in here so you can see it gives us a little lot. So let's just say minus 50 and 50. It's maybe too much. Let's see. Yeah, it's too much. So let's just say minus 5.000 500. That would be better, I think. Yeah, so we can work with that one. You can see right now we already have right now we have already like some kind of pavilion, but we are going to make it more complex and more beautiful. Let's just add some more anchor points. How we are going to do that? It's simple is that anchor point. You can just go here and click some places and say points, set multiple points, select those points, call anchor, and bam, you have those points. So you can just move with those things to create more volume. If you create your points on Rhino, you can move those points, but I'm not gonna create on Rhino right now, so let's delete those things and let's just make it, yeah, let's just remove those points. So right now I want to talk about one more thing before we get into the other anchor points. So right now you can see on the Rhino file, let's say this is our mesh, and this is the grid that the mesh has. So I'm working on centimeters, so this is basically the 10 centimeter and 10 centimeters squares. So if you put your anchor point in here, the kangaroo does not calculate that, so it will be failed. It will be not going to be anchor point. You need to put your anchor points into the connection points, like those points. Those points will be calculated by Kangaroo and can used as anchor points. You will see what I'm talking about in the next step. So let's just create a column into the middle to make some kind of canopy pavilion. Let's start with a line. I mean, again, you don't need to do that. You can just simply put points, but let's just make it on Grasshopper to let's just have some ability to change it on Grasshopper. So let's just say line, not that line, obviously. Line, you can see it wants us to put start point and end point. The start point is going to be 0, 0, 0. End point is going to be 0, 40, 0. You can change it however you like. Let's just make it more organized. So right now we have our line. Yes. So we are going to divide it because I want to have those points, like those 4 points. Let's say divide curve. And let's connect it. So right now you can see it not take those connection points. So let's say anchor right now, and you will see what I'm talking about. Like when you put it in here, you can see only the points that into the connection point, like the works for anchor. Like these points are not work. So we are not going to do that in that way. Let's say 4 and divide it. We need to reset the solver. So right now you can see we have 4 points right there on to the connection points. So right now we can say anchor, you can see, and then we have our anchor points, but we are not going to use it in that way. So I want to create a square, so let's say move. Again, I'm going to say point for you to see. So we need to move those points in X direction because it's by default it says 0, 0, 10, which means it moves the thing in Z direction. Let's just say unit X, and let's say 10 factor. Let's just copy that. Let's just do it again. Let's just copy that again, and then let's just do it again. Oops. So you can see the steps. It's so simple. It creates those squares like with points. So right now we have our columns base. What we are going to do next is going to move those points. So let's call points, and let's just connect all those points. Yeah, you can clearly see those points right now. So we need to move those points, but how? Let me just quickly show you. So let's just connect that point to the geometry, like you can see it again, because it defaults by 0, 0, 10. We need our points move in X direction and Y direction. So let's just say two things. And let's just say addition, because we need to calculate those two. Right now, there will be a problem. You will see, let's say 400 again. I mean, let's not say that like that. Let me just say it in that way. Let's just connect those two. So right now, you may think that like there is no problems, like it moves, but when we, let's say point again, when we make it anchor, and then put it in here, you can see it won't work, because like I said, it needs to be on those connection points. So like look at that one, it not work. So what we need to do, it's so simple. We need to multiply that number, let's just say, because since all those as are 10, we need to go with tens. Like let's say multiplication, let's say 10. So we need to put that, we need to remove those things, and let's say 1, 10, 40, put it in here, and that one in here. So, and also we need to do the same thing to the y-axis, and right now you can see we have our, let's just reset that, and right now you can see we have our column in the middle, and it only moves in those connection points. So, but right now we can see it's so like not that, it doesn't have that volume. So let's just give it a little volume with playing those parameters. Let's say, I mean, it would be better if we do it. Let's reset it and let's check it. Yeah, it looks nice. Let's close all those previews off. Okay, so that's the main idea. So you can do it for other let me just open the mesh preview. So you can do it for other points, like you can just create point in here and you can move it around, but I'm not going to do that in that pavilion. So let's just add some points into the corners and create a Canopy Pavilion. You can see I add some random points, and you will see the result will be great. Yeah. Firstly, I start to the corners because I don't like to have those sharp corners. I want them to be a little bit more flat, so that I did that. Let's add more points. I'm not going to add a point in the middle because we already have a big column in the middle. So I think that we don't need to have any other points in the middle. So let's do another anchor. Whoop. Anchor. Let's go point. And let's say multiple points. Let's pick those points. Let's put it in the anchor. And let's put the anchor in goal objects. And right now you can see it. Let's just make them a little bit more. Let's just give them a little more volume. You can see right now we have our pavilion, so you can move those points if you like. Let's just play around a little bit. Yeah, you can see we finished our base. So in the next step I'm going to show you how we can design it. And yeah, that's all. You can just put your points and everything to create your own pavilion. In the last step, we are going to learn how we can bake our pavilion in a right way, and also how we can put different plugins into our pavilion. Let's start with baking. So let's say geometry and hook it up in here. You can see, like, you may think that there's no problems, but when you bake it you can see those tiny little curves. We don't want those curves, we only want that mesh. So how we can pick only that mesh, and why that problem happens, like why it generates those curves? When you look at the output tree, you can see there are lots of values, which the first value is mesh and the other values are curves. So we need to pick the first value. How can we pick the first value? You may know that we need to use list item. When you hook it up the output tree with the list, you can see the item output gives us the first item, which is mesh. If you want to pick different item, like the second item, third item, you can always use this comment. So let's just get our mesh. Let's hook it up in here, and we got our mesh. So let's go to the rendered view and let's say bake in layer 1. You can see that we got our first pavilion. You can do some extrusions if you want to give a little bit more volume, but you don't need to do that. It also has its own value. Yeah, this is our first pavilion. So let's just jump into the different plugins, and we are going to use NGon and we are going to use Weaverbird. Let's start with NGon. NGon gives us 7 different subdivisions, but these ones we can't use those things. Why we can't use those things? You can see it wants us to put surface. We don't have surface, we have mesh. When you try to put it in here, you can see there's an error because we have a mesh and that one wants us to put surface. So, but this one, the triangle subdivision, wants us to put mesh. When we combine mesh to mesh, You can see there's no problem because this wants us to put mesh and we put mesh. You can see this creates little tiny triangles, and you can also play with the values. But I'm warning you, don't go too far with this value because it might crash your computer. So you can see, if you play those values, it's gonna give us different triangles. 2 is great, I think, in that case. And let's just say mesh again. Like I said, you don't need to put that one in here, but I want you to see more clear in the video, so that's why I put the mesh here. So let's just bake it. You can see that there are not many different. Like, this is more flat, this has more triangular faces, but has not much difference. But I like that one. That one, yeah. Let's try different things too. Let's close preview off, and let's jump into Weaverbird. Weaverbird also has a great subdivision place too. You can see there are lots of different subdivision. Let's start with loop subdivision. Let's just put it in here. You can see it causes some kind of same effects with that one. Not exactly the same, but so similar effects with that one. Let's make it different. Let's put picture frame when you do it, and let's say mesh. You can see what happens when you put that comment in with that comment, and you can see, let's just bake it. You can see it creates some empty space, and if you extrude it, let me just extrude it, you can see it more clearly. So let's just remove that one, and let's just add the window, which is the opposite of that one. And when you say bake, you can see, and when you say extrude, you can see it creates so unique shapes. Let's just put those 2 in here, and let's just do one more final thing. Let's just close it, and also I want to show one more thing. Let's open the preview one. You can also play with those values too. Let's say, and you can see you can play with those distance, play with those levels. I mean, let's say 2, and let's say bake. You can see the units are closer than this one. Let's say little extrude. You can see it's more solid than that one because the gap is much more smaller than this one. So you can also play with those parameters too if you like. Let's just close the preview off. Let's just make it more organized. And let's do one more thing. Let's say that one and also that one. You will see what happens when you combine these two. Let's say mesh again, and let's bake it. You can't see, I mean, you can't see probably because it's like so small, tiny squares, like points, but when you extrude it, you end up with this unique shape. I think this is my favorite one. Yeah, you can end up with this shape if you use this thing with extrusion in Rhino. You can end up with that one. And let's put it in this one in here. You can see we can create lots of things with these Rhino scripts. We can use different plugins too. Just go and play around with those plugins because there are lots of things that you can find. So I hope that this tutorial helps you to understand Kangaroo, Weaverbird and NGon a little bit. I hope that you like it. I hope that you enjoy it. So thanks for watching. I hope you see you again. So bye bye.